And what I have here, and according to the recipe, I've got a half batch right here, and I've got a half batch already made in the oven right now. So I've got flour. Recipe calls for 2 cups and 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 stick of butter. And we take 2 tablespoons of that butter, and we're going to set that aside with a little Garic the Great seasoning. I'm going to melt this after the biscuits are done. They bake for about 15 minutes at 425, and we spread this over the top. It's just so good to have that on top. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit of butter to this. And if you haven't seen one of these, this is a pastry cutter, and used with pie crust a lot, used with biscuits a lot. And what this does, if you use a shortening or butter or something like that, then you cut it into the flour, which I'm going to do right now. And it's really important that whatever you're cutting in is very cold, which is why I'm just taking it out now. But I've cut it into some slices. This is our 3 tablespoons of butter, and I can put that just in there. And if you don't have a pastry cutter, you can use a fork. And that's the labor-intensive way to do it. But the pastry cutter works really, really well. You want to coat those individual pieces, and then you simply cut them with the pastry cutter. The most difficult part is initially, when you're first cutting up those pieces into some smaller pieces, and then it gets progressively easier and easier. And I just force that through there. If it gets clumped up on there, I kind of just force it through with my finger, and that helps break it up. Now, what this does, if you don't do this, if you don't cut it into it, say if you just kind of mix it all together and melt the butter and mix it in there, you're going to get a very dense biscuit. We don't want really dense. Light and flaky is what we want. So this principle applies to anything that is any kind of a pastry or a dough that you want light and flaky.
Jessica says she uses a food processor too for this part.
Yeah, food processor is great. In fact, yeah, that's probably the best way to do it if you want it done really, really fast. We don't have a food processor here. This is the manual, and so that's like the upper level right there. You use a food processor. It's also the easiest way to overmix it too. And so you have to be really careful if you're using a food processor to not overmix, because then you get the density.
Yes.
So there we have, it's a coarse ground, and all we're going to add here is our cheddar cheese, which we have a half a cup here, another half cup in the other batch that's already made. And we have a teaspoon and a half of our Garic the Great already in there, a couple teaspoons of baking powder, and then the flour. And so with biscuits, baking powder is your rising agent, and so we've got that in there. We're going to mix in our half cup of milk here.
So just as a reminder, he's doing a half batch because the other batch is in the oven.
That's right.
For the half.
And this one right here. It's kind of a sticky dough, so it's okay if it's a little bit sticky. A lot of times with regular biscuits, it's a little bit drier. But this one we're actually going to be scooping out instead of rolling out and cutting out biscuit shaped.
Drop shaped or whatever.
Drop shaped, yeah. And so you want to mix it, but again, it's one of those things where you don't want to over mix it too much, because then again, the more you mix it, the more dense it has the chance of becoming. But we get that in there, and we'll get these in here. Okay, so what we have here is these. And now you can take a spoon. What I did for the last batch I really like, I just have a cookie scoop here, and I do 2 scoops, and that's 1 biscuit. So like that. I did that, and just a second scoop right on top, and that's basically 1. Okay, so what we have here is these. Let's take a quick look. You can see they're rising beautifully. They look really, really good. They're not quite done yet, but they'll be done soon.
Yeah, those are fluffy.
Yeah, so another few minutes. The bake time is about 15 minutes on there.
Oh, it looks slightly golden on the outside. I think
16 minutes on that.
And you could do those even smaller if you wanted to.
You could.
A variety of sizes.
So those look really good.
And I think they taste a lot like the red lobster garlic biscuits that you get there at that restaurant.
Yeah, whether or not you like red lobster, those cheese biscuits are bomb. They're awesome. And so they are very much like that. And I know they put like a bunch of butter on those things. And they're just light and fluffy, and that's what we like here about these. They definitely are light and fluffy and really tasty. Okay. So yeah, this butter I just melt, and we'll just...
And it's got Garic the Great in it?
This is, yeah, just butter and Garic the Great.
You can hear that sizzle.
Yeah, if you can hear that, it's great, that nice sizzle on there.
Yeah, these would go really well at a Thanksgiving meal.